We have a health crisis in South Africa, and the crisis is not something we can take lightly, and it is affecting everyone, whether you like it or not. This health crisis is affecting you, and you've probably heard about the hundreds of doctors that are unemployed sitting at home, but it's not just doctors, it's nurses, it's physiotherapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, audiologists. The list goes on, and it is unending. Hey there, welcome to Zibuyile iinkokheli, a platform for leaders who are living life one ordered step, sometimes leap at a time, quite literally. If this is your second time or third time joining, thank you so much for stopping by yet again. I trust that you're enjoying the content, which is why you came back. And to everyone that has subscribed so far, you guys are the bestest. If it's your first time joining, hey leader, hey, thank you so much. I hope you're going to enjoy this kind of content and that you're going to stay. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you are notified each time I upload a new video. So today, I'm sure you noticed, right? I am starting a new series called Navigating Life. And my first video, I felt it was appropriate to start it with navigating life as this person over here. I wear many hats. This has become very much in the background over the past year and a bit. So to kick things off with the Navigating Life series, we are going to do navigating life as, wait for it, an unemployed medical doctor in South Africa. This video might be a one-part, two-part, three-part series. I don't know how far we can take it, but yeah, quite a lot. So where do I start? If you've been watching the news for any amount of time, especially in the recent weeks, also heading towards the elections in May, you will know that quite a number of South African doctors are unemployed. Shocking, right? Given the state of affairs in our healthcare system and the long waiting lines and the doctor-patient ratio, the nurse-patient ratio, we have a health crisis in South Africa, and the crisis is not something we can take lightly, and it is affecting everyone, whether you like it or not. This health crisis is affecting you, and you've probably heard about the hundreds of doctors that are unemployed sitting at home, but it's not just doctors, nurses, it's physiotherapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, audiologists. The list goes on, and it is unending. And this is not to be dismissive of other professionals that are unemployed in South Africa. We know that unemployment is a crisis in our country, but I'm going to talk from a perspective of healthcare, namely unemployment as a doctor, because I'm a doctor. So how did we get here? Or how did I get here? Let me speak for myself, which is very hard because this is not something that even we as doctors have heart-to-heart about. We do talk about it. It is something that we engage amongst the fraternity. We engage about it with the necessary people, the powers that be. It's known by the media, by the general population. The general population actually probably didn't know until they felt the effects of it. I studied medicine, right? And if anyone didn't know, medicine currently, it's a 6-year program in university. Very rigorous program, and getting into medicine is not easy. So if you get into medicine, you've done well. So yeah, 6 years of your life spent in medical school, you're applying yourself to this degree that you want to pursue, or this career that you want to pursue rather, and you are doing your absolute best, sometimes literally grinding yourself to the dust to qualify. And I think this is the third video that I'm mentioning how traumatic of an experience it was for me. Not everybody shares the same experience about med school. Some people had, although med school was difficult, some people had quite the time of their lives. For me, I don't have that many stories to share. I mean, I struggled to even name one thing that I enjoyed about med school. So 6 years of medical school, 6 years of working hard, and halfway through watching your peers that you finished matric with graduate and start on with their lives, and you feel like people's lives are going on while yours is just, like, and getting the question about it's in India, when are you finishing? And and in those 6 years, one of the things that keeps you motivated and keeps you pushing, even when sometimes you feel like, you know what, this is not worth it, I want to pack my bags and go home. The one thing that is keeping you sane most of the time, the fact that you're going to finish. You've worked hard to that point and you can't wait. You're anticipating the finish line. So I remember my very last exam, final year, it was the psychiatry exam, and we were at Valkenburg Hospital. And the weeks preceding that, I was excited, kind of. I was also anticipating how I would feel when you finally get over and done with something that has been quite a journey. So I was anticipating this feeling of euphoria and excitement and celebration after that exam. And I remember walking out of the examination room and feeling such an anticlimax. And the anticlimax came out in a form of a deep sigh, when you and that was not even a sigh of, oh my goodness, I am tired. Because if you know the nature of exams in med school, you write back to back. It's back to back. So it was a combination of, yes, exhaustion, a combination of sadness, because I did not feel the excitement that everybody seemed to have been experiencing at the time. It also felt a bit like grief, like the end of one chapter leading up to another chapter, and also a feeling of anxiety because now med school is done. All you've been doing throughout the 6 years is working hard towards something. And I also felt guilty over the fact that I was not excited to finish med school. Instead of excitement, I was feeling, that day I remember I walked from Falkenberg to Reyes. I lived in Op Square. It's quite a bit of a walking distance, but I felt like I needed to clear my mind by myself and just sift through my thoughts. And while everybody was planning to go out and celebrate, and I walked out of that examination room, when I got home, I switched off my phone and I slept. So also, all of these feelings were coming at a time whereby there's also going to be this time of transition whereby you're coming out of medical school. Now you're going to go into the work field and you're going to have this responsibility of being an actual doctor and people's lives actually depending on you and your decision making. And it was also the hoo-ha of placements as well. I can't remember whether placements had been out yet because it was end November. I think placements were out already, but it was an issue of finding accommodation and all of that. And then I had issues with my placement because I was supposed to do my internship at Khayelitsha District Hospital. And then at the very last minute, they told me that they actually advertised that they had 20 spots instead of 19. So they did like an automated um, raffle draw, whatever. And my name was the one that was eliminated from the list. And I really wanted to do internship at Khayelitsha because I had vowed never to do never to work again at the hospital where I experienced so much distress, right? Anyways, that's a story for another day, I guess. So internship comes, that is kind of guaranteed employment because you have to do internship if you want to practice as a medical doctor in South Africa. It's like a continuation of your training, although you're being paid during the time, but you're still working under supervision. So internship happened, and then after internship, we need to actually talk about the amount of transitions that you experience between medical school to internship to ComServe to being an independent practitioner, because I don't think we talk about how difficult that alone can be. So internship happened. That is, let me say, it used to be guaranteed employment because of the fact that it's compulsory to do. However, even after med school, there's still a chance that you might not get placed and start working in January. You might start working with the asynchronous cycle, which is like towards mid-year. So did my internship, and that was during the pandemic. And I don't know if the general public knows this, but from my point of view, junior doctors held the nation down when it came to the pandemic. And I said what I said. I'm not taking it back. And that is from experience. And then ComServe happened, the rough transition from living here in Cape Town to being in a rural area. Totally different culture, totally different. It was a whole new world, being away from the familiar. So that was something else. And then end of ComServe, now looking into actually job hunting. And some people leave med school knowing exactly what they want to do, like specialization. And I thought I did, but as time progressed and I rotated through the different specialties, I would realize that, okay, no, maybe I don't like this as much as I thought I did, right? And ComServe job applications, because now you're an independent practitioner and you've served your time. And end of ComServe, I felt, so during ComServe, before we get to the end, during ComServe, I think a lot of us asked ourselves the question of whether or not you actually wanted to continue on in the medical field, because ComServe, you are thrown in the deep. Like, you are thrown in the deep. You go from being supervised to being the senior on the floor, and you are the, like, people are asking you questions like Senzentoni, and they're looking at you for answers. And if you did internship during the pandemic, then chances are a lot of the medicine that you know is adjusted to cater to COVID related situations as well. So your training was kind of also interrupted, although you gained experience, like from an infectious diseases disaster management point, but also like I felt, you know, the reason I say that we need therapy as healthcare professionals, like group therapy or some intervention, as much as like I was attending therapy during the time, I still feel like the pandemic robbed me of my internship experience, like the full internship experience. And yeah, a part of me still, because I went from grieving the fact that I was not going to work at the hospital that was part of my options, to going back to a hospital where I vowed to never set foot again, to accepting that and then being thrown right on the deep of working in the pandemic. I remember my very first shift was in a maternity COVID ward, and I was the first intern at the hospital to cover COVID duty. And the first COVID patient that was notified at our hospital was the patient that I had come across. And I was the one that, when I got the notification, because like NICD, I had the app, they sent a notification because I was the one that was taking the bloods on that day. They sent me a notification to say that that particular patient had tested positive for COVID, and the seniors were not aware at the time. So I sent them the message saying that this is the situation. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I've been exposed. And then moving on from that and having to cover a COVID shift where everybody's just, nobody knows what's going on. But then Amanda girl, if you're watching this, you pulled through for your girl. I remember she video called me that night. She video called me that night, just checking how I was doing. And I remember my rage as well, because it was a whole, like, it was chaotic. Maternity ward is always like, if it's not the Q word, every health professional knows what the Q word is. If it's not the Q word in maternity, it is like fire everywhere. There's never like an in-between happy spot. It's like, yeah. So she called video called to check up on me and how I was doing and my rage. I won't mention her name here because I don't have permission to do that, but so grieving all of that and then moving straight to ComServe was also a transition on its own, right? And then, I got distracted. So I was talking about how after, like, during ComServe, my mental health took a dip because of all of that. So my mental health took a dip, and I was like, you know what? I need just a break to whoosah my mind. And then I will, because I felt like I needed a break because I had fallen out of, like, the passion and the zeal to work was, to work as a doctor, let me qualify that, was slowly like diminishing. I was still doing an excellent job. I was still doing my best, but I was literally ground to the dust. So in my mind, I had already like mentally prepared myself to not work for a bit so that I can readjust my sails, because the sails were not sailing and the ship was in the middle of a great tempest and it was risking sinking. So I intentionally decided to take a break and reapply for a permanent job post-ComServe. So that happened, and then I came to Cape Town with the plan, in quotes, to do locum work, because locum opportunities were better or projected to be better in a bigger city than back at home, right? And locum work is basically part-time doctoring. That is my best explanation without winding and like going off and going into the details of it. So that became a struggle as well, finding and getting jobs, because you're now an independent practitioner. You are finding your own job whilst you're applying for a permanent job. And you go from working ridiculous hours, 30 hours in one shift for many times a week, and you technically working every day, with breaks in between, to not working or working once, twice, 3 times a week, which was my case for the most part last year. And the biggest struggle, okay, not the biggest, one of the biggest struggles for me was explaining to people exactly why I am sitting at home and not working, and explaining to people what working as a locum is and what it looks like. And people, like, when you're talking to them, they like bayakuva but abakuveli intweni, because it does not make sense that you are a doctor and you don't have a job, when my field and my career is known to be one of the fields where you are guaranteed to have a job because of the need for doctors. And it did not make sense to them, because they would look at me like, what do you mean you don't have a job? Because to them, they are waiting several hours to be seen by a doctor, or there's no doctor to see them at all, yet there's a doctor sitting at home. So to some people, it came across as though as I wasn't trying hard enough, as if I wasn't applying, as if I was not serious, as if I was making excuses for being at home, as if I was enjoying the time out. Yes, being like not working for the first few months had its own benefits, I won't lie, because I was able to reset and my mental health was able to go back to baseline or even be better for a moment. But to people, it was like, ayenzi sense le nto uyithethayo ke yazi, because njani uba uthi ungugqirha kodwa awusebenzi, kodwa the hospitals are like, the queues are long, the waiting hours are long, and sometimes we leave without being seen, but you are telling me that you don't have a job, you're not working, which is also very difficult for me because a lot of my peers are working. So the people struggled to marry the two. When you're not working, but usbani, nosbani. And nyani, those people were or are working. And even my peers who are doing locum work, they are working more consistently and frequently than I am. And that took me to a different spiral altogether. So finding locum work still isn't as easy, as straightforward as I had imagined and hoped and was sold the idea that it would be. Mostly because the market is oversaturated, if I can put it that way, in the sense that back in the day, like a few years ago, most doctors were employed and there were fewer locums, right? So there was more locum work to go around. But now the tables have turned. Most doctors are unemployed, so there are fewer locum jobs to go around. And all of the unemployed doctors, because they are trying to have, like, maintain a living and pay their bills, they opt for locum work. So there's an oversupply of locums. And locum work has its own struggles, because working as a locum, you have to be like available on the fly, which if you have a personality like mine and you like to plan ahead and be made aware of what your life is going to look like tomorrow, next week, then that's a struggle in itself. And then working in different environments, because being a locum means that you're not working in the same, not unless you have a contract with like a hospital group or a GP practice group or something. So it means that you're working in different environments almost every time you go to work. You don't know what to expect. You're working with different people, it's different systems, it's different everything. And every practitioner that hires you to cover their practice, they've got a way of doing things. And yeah. And the other thing is that the exploitation is real working as a locum as well. Because if you're post-com serve, I've had experiences whereby I've actually, over time, initially, I was accepting of whatever work that was coming my way because I didn't know better. But say the minimum rate per hour for working as a locum in whatever community is 50 Rand an hour. But then you get approached by a doctor that wants you to cover their practice, and they tell you that they're going to pay you 20 Rand or 25 Rand an hour. I had an encounter like that, and I had to be like, I can't, like, I cannot, because that was screaming of exploitation. And I know that I'm in a desperate situation, but you're exploiting me. And the more we accept being exploited, because already the system is exploiting its healthcare professionals. So the minute I start accepting the exploitation, then it opens up room for the next person to experience the same. So I stood my ground in that case. I was like, nah, this arrangement is not going to work for me. Like, it's not going to work for me. And then there's the question of, but why don't you start your own GP practice? First of all, I think the general public thinks that GP work is the easy way out. No, it's not. GP practice is hard work because you are having to be like jacking of all trades when it comes to the specialties, because you are the primary healthcare giver and you're the first, most cases, first point of contact. So if you mess it up with the diagnosis at that level, then your patient is going to struggle to get the specialist referral that they need, or it's going to take them longer. So you have to know a lot of everything as a general practitioner. You don't just start a GP practice because it's an all else failed backup plan. Some people do, but it's not the easy way out. And I have a lot of respect for general practitioners, to be honest with you. Working as one, I'm just like, yeah, no, it's a lot. And starting a GP practice requires startup capital, which most of us don't have. It's a lot of money to start a practice. It's a lot of money which most of us don't have, and a lot of money which most loan institutions, banks won't give to you because it takes a while. Like, how will you pay back the loan? It takes a while for any business to get to a point where there's leverage and you are able to, like, the business is able to self-sustain and there's profit. Because at the end of the day, a GP practice is a business. So how are banks going to give you loans if you don't have any, So people are like, practice, like, as if that is like straightforward. It's not. It really isn't, because it also means that if you can't get a loan to start one and you're not a trust fund baby, so you don't have access to money that's just lying around that you can use to start your business, it means that you have to dig up into your savings. Digging up into your savings means that you won't be able to pay your already existing bills, which we're going to talk about later. And then specialization. Why don't you just specialize then? It's not that easy either. You have to be at a government institution attached to a university in order for you to specialize. Specializing is a whole, it's another degree in itself, at least another 4 years of university, whilst you're working full-time as a doctor, whilst you are teaching, and whilst you're doing research, and whilst you're like, yes. So specializing, you need to be employed in order to do that, and you need to be attached to an academic institution, which is a government hospital, and you need to be enrolled at a university, which has its own costs as well. So if you're straight out of ComServe, even if you saved up quite a substantial amount, which I did, it's not enough to do that, and it doesn't solve all the problems. So yeah, this video is going to be long, so I think let me cut it there, and we'll talk about other things. Okay, let me cover this before I close up the video. The other question was, why don't you branch off into other areas of medicine, corporate? Like, I mean, not like I'm not applying, because at this point I was finding myself applying to like departments that I never even imagined I would apply in, because now you have to compromise, because you're getting to a point of stop being picky, just get into the system and then wiggle your way into whatever department you want to work in. And then comes the question of, what if you continue working as a locum, which I already mentioned, but those are a little hard to come by as it is, and then supplement your degree with diplomas and courses and things like that. Diplomas, most of them require you to be attached to a government institution and have a bit of experience while you're studying towards it, because there are criteria for you. Like, for instance, the HIV diploma in HIV and TB management, you need to have 6 months experience at a facility that has somebody that will sign you off. You can go via, like, you can do the portfolio route, but if you're going to do a diploma via portfolio, meaning that you're gathering up cases and stuff, that requires some form of permanent employment. And then courses are, like, for instance, basic life support, advanced cardiac life support, pediatric advanced life support, your ATLSs, other courses. They also cost money, and those unfortunately expire after 2 years. So I'm already thinking, like, sitting here right now, I was thinking, I need to renew my courses because I need to keep my CV up to date. And that is a lot of money. Like, one course is going to easily cost me 5,000 Rand. If I do it here in Cape Town, it's going to be cheaper because I'm already living here. But one course can easily cost you 5,000 Rand, and it expires after 2 years. And that does not guarantee that you're going to get employment either. I know this sounds very like doom and gloom, but this is the reality. And it's not just one course that I'm going to do. I need to update all 3 of my courses. So I need to update my BLS, my PALS, and my ACLS, and add other courses as well, like the symposiums that I'd love to attend. But I don't have 5,000 Rand to just take out from my bank account on the fly when I don't have like a stream of income that is reliable. Anyways, so I'm just navigating life as is. And then I think in the next video, I'm going to talk about navigating life unemployed, as an unemployed doctor, navigating family life, navigating friends, navigating job searching as well, because that is another thing, navigating bills. So with the courses, because I'm also thinking about with the bills, HPCSA visa due, they sent us a message, and that is easily 3,000 Rand. That is just HPCSA. That is not your medical indemnity insurance, that a year can be anything from a few thousand, like 10,000 to upwards of 20, depending on what option you're on and what kind of work. And then the summer, and then we'll talk about downward spirals, depressive episodes, and keeping sane and things like that. So I know that this is not like an exciting video. It is not like but it's just, like I said, navigating life. And I'm just sharing my experience navigating life as an unemployed doctor. So this is just part one. I'm going to do a part two, maybe a part three, depending, because I don't want these videos to be long either. But it's not all doom and gloom, at least for me. I don't live my life like I don't have no hope. Some days I feel like it though, but overall and generally, I know that this is just going to be a part of my story. So I wish that we would have more conversations amongst ourselves about what we are actually going through, besides about what do we do and how do we address the problem at hand, but how do we maneuver ourselves and navigate ourselves and manage our emotions during the process. And yeah, and then have conversations with families and our friends. And I'm going to talk about other things and like how having support has ensured that I don't find myself in a pit. Anyways, if you've watched the entire video, thank you. Comment, please let me know what you think, and let us have a dialogue about this. Even if you're not in the healthcare field, if you're unemployed, let's have a dialogue about this navigating life thing. Yeah, I'm sorry that that probably was a mood dampener. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll come back for part two and for future videos. If you haven't watched my previous videos, please do so. Like, comment, subscribe if this is the kind of content that is up your alley. Share the videos with people that you think might enjoy the content. And I will see you next time on Zibuyile iinkokheli, a platform where leaders are navigating or living life one ordered step, sometimes giant leap at a time. Literally. Bye.